Hello and welcome to FI for Kids, a podcast about guiding your kids on the path to financial independence and extraordinary lives. I'm your host, Dominic DeLaquil. Our guest today is Sam Sells. Sam is an affordable housing advocate and the founder of Impact Growth Capital, where their mission is to create long-term, stable cash flow for their investors by developing clean, safe, and affordable homes for 1 million residents. Very cool stuff. So welcome, Sam, and thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dominic.
So before we get into the cool stuff you're doing with Impact Growth, let's just tell us a little bit about your background, because I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So I grew up in rural Oklahoma and Texas. And as a young man, I decided I really wanted to do 3 things in life. I know, weird kid. Wrote in my journal, I think when I was 14 or 15, that I wanted to serve God, I wanted to serve my country, and I wanted to serve my fellow man. So I did that. I went on a mission for my church. I then came back, got into construction, and was like, well, I want to serve my country. Do I really need to join the military? And then I did. I decided I enlisted in the military as a firefighter, and then eventually got my degree and came in as officer and spent the latter part of my career in global health, working with foreign militaries, foreign governments, helping them to create sustainable healthcare outcomes, built clinics and what we might call hospitals in West Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Southwest and Southeast Asia. Did a lot of work there, and during that time just really wrestled with the question about poverty. How do you help people get out of poverty? And learning about political systems, learning how things work at those high levels, and then also how do you healthcare is not where it's at. It's really at the home. And it all comes from what we do in the home as parents, as kids, what we learn from there that really it doesn't dictate our life, but it sets our life on course. And the better our home life is, the better our after home life is, or when you leave the house and go to create your own home, the better your life should be. Now, 7 years ago, or 2018, we decided to create a commercial real estate company focused on affordable housing, where we would take on distressed apartment complexes, mobile home parks, clean them up, turn them into clean, safe places to live, not gentrify, where we move poor people out and rich people in, where we keep it naturally affordable, but just clean it up, make it a clean, safe, great place for people to live and affordable place. And we did that quite a bit for many years.
That's really cool. So it's just cool how all those things from your background and what you wrote in your journal when you were 14, right? What, kind of how you tied all those things together, and your experiences in being in different places and seeing different things. And just, kudos to you, Sam, for thinking about things, paying attention, but also thinking, and then trying to problem solve. How do we make this better? So this idea of that this learning starts in the home. So I'm assuming you mean more than just healthcare. You mean
everything.
Financial knowledge, you mean sort of everything, right? Kind of really the basis for things starts in the home. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's it. So your financial well-being, how you're going to deal with finances starts as a kid, what you learn from your parents, right? Or health, what you eat. Exercise, you learn from your parents, watching them, also eating the food that they give you, or not eating the food they give you. Education, all those things start in the home. And most people grow up to become like their parents. Most people do. Some people grow up and break chains of poverty. Some people grow up and break the chains of domestic violence or domestic abuse. Some people do, but the majority of folks end up to be pretty close to what their folks were.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. I think you can see that in all kinds of little simple things, right? I think we've known for a long time, kids that grow up with parents that smoke are much more likely to become smokers, right? And I mean, and on and on. So certainly that applies with money, and I talk to people a lot on this show about sort of what they learned about money. And if there was a scarcity mindset, kids tend to pick up on that. And then, then they've got to figure out how to move sort of beyond that. So to that end, what was your experience? What did you learn about money when you were growing up?
Well, I kind of learned that the purpose of money was to get a credit score, and credit score enabled you to get credit cards, and then credit cards enabled you to buy stuff.
Wow.
And then
That's
when those
you're the first one. That's the first time I've heard that story, Sam. That's okay. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
and then when you can buy stuff on credit, you can buy way nicer stuff than you normally could.
Which is
And,
true
but
until
then
the
you
bills
spend the
start
rest of your
coming
life in debt.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then the goal of life is to pay off your credit cards so that you can then refill your credit cards.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, was that so? I'm assuming that wasn't something necessarily you talked about. That's just sort of what you picked up on, or how did you get that message exactly?
That's what I picked up on.
Yeah,
My folks were never good at money. They never understood it. And who, as a kid, I kind of blamed them for that. But as an adult, I realized that they were never educated on money.
right.
My dad went back to college when he finished college when he was 39 years old. And so his first good paying job was $35,000 a year at 39 years old.
Yeah,
And I was a teenager,
yeah,
and bought a minivan, Grand Caravan, and my sister wrecked it and it didn't have insurance on it.
oh man,
And so then we had a brand new minivan, completely wrecked, totaled, couldn't use, and a payment that my parents had for the next 5 years,
gosh,
right when we were just starting to get ahead. And that's like the life of, the lower socioeconomic class. You can't ever get ahead.
Yeah, my oldest sister does a lot of work with St. Vincent de Paul, and she just sees a lot of that. People who are they're struggling and they're working against so many disadvantages that they've grown up with, and that they're just so much a part of every aspect of their life that it's so difficult to make any kind of progress. So
It is. Yeah.
what then took you in a different direction? Was it your experiences abroad and being involved in all these different things, or what was it?
A desire. Even as a young man, like I remember my siblings never really cared about money that much, but I did. And when you're in that lower class, you look down at people who have money and you look down at people trying to make money.
Right.
And so I would always get flack, like you're just greedy, or you just, you just love money. I'm like, no, I don't love money. I don't want to live like this.
Yeah. I think I'm really glad you said that, Sam, because that's such an important thing. Because I think so many of us, whether you come from more difficult circumstances or even a lot of people just like right in the solid middle of the middle class, right? I mean, that's how it was for me. I grew up in the Midwest, very solid middle class, and it wasn't maybe as obvious, but I still think there was a lot of that type of mentality, and it gets tricky because money isn't the end goal, right? It's not the be all and end all. But at the same time, it's a very powerful tool. And if you don't have enough, then you can't take advantage of all the other things that are out there in life. And it just becomes, then you're always preoccupied with it in a way that's just as bad, if not worse, than if you're preoccupied with having it just for the sake of having it, right? So I think what you want is this middle path where, you're not about being greedy, but you want enough money that you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck or barely making by, and you're just always struggling. And then it becomes a tool to do two things, right? To have, well, at least two things: more opportunities and flexibility and opportunity for yourself to create a more fulfilling and rewarding life, but also to do things like what you're doing, where you can also then help and benefit other people out there. And right, so money's a tool, and if you understand how to grow it and do a little bit with it, there's so many ways you can make it work for you.
That's exactly it. Money is a tool that creates options. It creates choices. Like, you want freedom of choice, you want true freedom, you have to have money. You have to, right? I want to lift millions of people out of poverty. I'm not going to do that through a nonprofit. I can't, right? It has to be a for-profit company, and it has to make money. It's the only way. And the people that we're helping out of poverty, those people have to make money. It's it. But we're fighting mindset, right? We're fighting, that culture that somehow money is evil. Money has never, ever been evil. It never has been evil. Evil people with money can do evil things. Evil people without money can do evil things. It's for some reason, good people have been tricked into believing that money is bad.
Yeah, I think I really firmly believe money's an amplifier. So if you have, self-centered tendencies, it's going to make it easier to indulge those. If you have altruistic tendencies like you do, for example, right, then it enables you to do more with that. And that's it, right? So it's like any other tool, like any tool you might have in your garage. You can use it stupidly, or you can use it destructively, or you can use it to build cool stuff or repair things, or use those tools for really great stuff. Money's the same.
It's the same thing. And this bothers people sometimes when I say this, but if you are a good person, to me, you have a moral responsibility to go make money and do good in the world, right? Stop hiding your light inside your house and watching TV. And look, I only make $15 an hour. Okay. What are you doing to go make $30 an hour? Well, that's impossible. That's not impossible, right? You can go into AI right now into chat, ask it what you could do, and it would tell you 20 different things, and you pick one that you like and then go run down that with chat. It's the opportunities that we have today are more incredible than any generation before us. The access to expertise, to knowledge is more open than it's been to any generation before us. We really, in 5 years, we have no excuse, because all you had to do was ask. And it cost
all you had to do was ask, and then take some simple actions, and not be afraid to do a little bit and move yourself forward, not be afraid or too resistant to learning a little bit. And also to get out of, if you've got this mindset, like you were saying some of your siblings had, where, well, that's a bad thing to pursue. You just need to break out of that. Like, it's not a bad thing to pursue it and use it for something good, like you were saying.
Yeah. You do good.
Yeah.
Do good.
Yeah.
And anyways.
So what approach have you taken with your kids? So you've got 3 kids, right? What are their ages? They're between 7 and 20. So you got a bit of a range there. Is that right?
Got a bit of a range. My oldest daughter, she's in the Army. That was her choice, which is great. She has some learning disabilities and struggles with a few things, but now she has money. She has a job. She has structure, which has been fantastic for her. She's been doing really well. And people say, oh, your daughter's in the Army, that's terrible. I'm like, that's not terrible. It's great. It's great. She is in, her friends, a few of them are living together, going to a community college. And 2 of her 4 friends quit going to school, and now they're back living with their parents.
Yeah.
Because it's so expensive out there in the world. Meanwhile, my daughter's in Germany, serving her country and getting trained and doing cool things and traveling. And
is she in Frankfurt?
She's at Landstuhl at the hospital. Yeah. I was in Frankfurt in 2003 to 2005 with the military.
Yeah. A good friend of mine actually had family in Frankfurt on Main, and my sister was in the Air Force many years ago, and she was stationed in Frankfurt for a while. So small world.
Yeah. I was there. Small world. I love Germany. I've been there many, many times. Love Germany. Love the Germans. Love the culture, the food.
Yeah. Well, it's just, and good for her, right? Because she's doing a variety of different things. She's got a stable job. She's growing and kind of maturing in a stable environment. She's got a paycheck. She's secure. And also then she's learning whatever skills she's learning from whatever job she has in the Army. You don't just sit around and do nothing, right? Everyone has jobs to do, and you learn skills that then she can use later.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a great path. A young person should consider the military. It's not Vietnam. You're not going to get shipped off to get shot at. The vast majority of people in the military never deploy.
So so that's where she's at. So what approach did you take with them, or are you still taking with your kids, just to sort of teach them about money so they've got a different understanding and a different mindset than what you grew up with?
Well, one of the things is just being open. So my 7-year-old, I tell him about investors. I tell him about projects we're doing, and I don't hide the numbers from him.
Yeah, cool.
So we're doing a project that's affordable housing. It's $195 million. And he's like, that is so much money. I'm like, okay, well, what would you do with $1 million? And he's 7. He's like, I'd buy Robux for Roblox.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the conversation we had yesterday. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
so
cool.
once you're done with that, what else would you do with your money? You know, and then we get to talk about things. And I learned a long time ago, back when I was serving a mission for my church, and my president, the guy who was in charge of us, he had created wealth in real estate. And he said, you always want to give 10% of your money to God, and then you want 10% of your money go to you. And I was like, what in the world does that mean? He's like, you save 10%, you pay yourself. And then you invest 10%, and then you live off of 70. And it took me a lot of years to figure out how to do that. But then I did that. And when I started doing that, I always pay 10% to the church or to charity. The rest of it, living off of 70%, when I learned how to live off 70% of my income, it was a game changer. And we really started putting money away. And then that was the enabler for us to launch our commercial real estate company.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm going to ask you a question that I assume I know the answer to, because this has been my experience. And I know it's more difficult if you're really sort of right at the poverty line and if you're working poor, this can be harder. So I don't want to denigrate that. But if you are middle class, even if you're lower middle class, and you figure out, and it might take you a minute, right? If you've got some credit card debt, you might have to sort of pay some things off and get there. But once you get control of your money and you figure out how to live on 70%, or potentially even less, right? I mean, I know people that live on 50%. Right, and save and invest the rest. But if you can figure out 70%, did that have some dramatic decrease in your quality of life when you figured that out?
No, not at all.
Nope.
I just had an older car, right? And we just bought less stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's some few simple decisions. That's been my experience, and everybody that I've talked to, right? Which is because it's all about, and this is so important on the path to financial independence. It's all about determining, there's the financial parts, of course, but it's also about determining, hey, what really matters to me? What do I value? And then paying attention to, okay, well, where am I spending my money? And to the extent that you're spending money on stuff you don't really get that much out of, stop spending that money. And go ahead and spend it on the things that matter to you. And maybe you might make some adjustments there if it's eating out, because we love to eat out, but we don't eat out as much as we would ideally we might like, because it's like, well, we'd rather have some of that money to invest. It doesn't mean we don't do it. When we do it, we enjoy it, but it doesn't decrease our quality of life. It's not that difficult. And it actually improves your quality of life, because now you have this money over there that you can feel financially stable about, and you build that up, and then you can start to invest it in things and make it work for you. And it really is a game changer, like you said.
It's a game changer. You really want to create joy in your life. Find somebody in need in your community and help them cover their electric bill, and then get a job, right? And all of a sudden your money has a purpose. And when you are improving other people's lives, particularly when you can see it, when you can improve other people's lives, it brings a sweet joy that you could never get otherwise. And that's the beauty. Like, can money make you happy? You can do things with money that will make you very happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, well said. So you're teaching your kids the 70 10 10 10
That's
and having
correct.
conversations, right? So you're talking about it. So that's good. So they're just going to sort of grow up in this reality of, hey, we talk about money and we learn to understand things. That way too, when they get to a point, like I'm sure your daughter, she's out on her own. I mean, even though she's in the service and some things, she has less options maybe than somebody who's not in the military, but still I'm sure she has questions and she can talk to you about stuff. And it's not like, I'm guessing you probably didn't, when you had questions about money, didn't talk to your parents about it.
But I tried. They just didn't know.
Yeah, sure.
They didn't know the rule of 72. They didn't know about stocks and bonds. They didn't know about calls or puts. They didn't know very much about real estate. They knew a little bit about real estate. all the money they ever made was, fixing up a really crappy old home, living in it for 15 years, and then selling it later. And that's how they made any money at all.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So my 15-year-old son is super into elite sports cars. So like Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and everything else. I have zero desire to have one of those cars. None. Like it brings no joy to me. I can appreciate the engineering, the beauty, etc. Great. I don't think the people who make them or drive them are evil. It's just not my desire. I have I can help for $250,000. I can help a lot of people improve their lives. That's what I'm interested in. But for him, it's been a motivating factor because I said, okay, son, you want one of those cars? Yeah. Okay, that car's $250,000. Are you making the choices right now that somebody who makes that kind of money can drive that car? Are you that kind of person? And he's like, no. No, you just took your $20 and you blew it all on candy.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Singleton Foundation for Financial Literacy and Entrepreneurship. Using the power of storytelling and entertainment to make learning about finances and entrepreneurship fun and engaging, the Singleton Foundation has a variety of free programs available to everyone. Million Stories is a video channel with over 30 short series. Groove is a goal-setting and financial learning app. Slingshot is an app to help you deliver your business idea. And Venture Valley is an esports-style video game. You can learn more about all of these free, engaging, and entertaining programs by visiting singletonfoundation.org. Thanks to the Singleton Foundation for helping to improve financial understanding, skills, and habits for everyone, and for sponsoring this episode.
So you think that kind of person wastes all their money? You're never going to own that kind of car unless you can get a hold of your finances. And so it creates something tangible to what they want. And then now they understand money matters.
Yeah. We start to connect things, right? And what's cool about that is, there's a good chance that he will at some point as he gets older decide, okay, I don't want to have money I don't want to have that kind of money for that kind of a car, right? If I have that kind of money, I want to do other things with it or whatever he decides. But having that conversation with him now where that is important to him and tying it together in a way where you're trying to help him see the connection between, hey, if you want certain things, you've got to start to understand you've got to take certain actions in order to move yourself in that direction. Because that's not just about money, that's about all of life. So, I mean, that's cool that you're helping to tie that together for him. So I like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know people now, like I have a friend, Dan, who makes over $2 million a month just from one of his companies. He's got, 7 or 8 companies. And he's got, 15 of those exotic sports cars. He loves those things. But when you make $2 million a month, spending $250K on a sports car is nothing. It's like you going out to eat, right? Or me going out to eat, right?
Right.
And so it's important for us to understand what that means to one person is not what it means to us. And there's purposes of money. And there's points where people lose, all concept of what money even matters anymore because they have such an abundance of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's spend some time talking about Impact Growth Capital. Just talk about what you're doing there and how you're doing it and just, you take it and go.
So 7 years ago, I said we started buying these distressed mobile home parks, apartment communities, 50% occupied, just really run down, full of crime. We'd clean them up, get rid of the crime, bring in nonprofit support to help people get jobs, help them pay their bills, which helped us to be more profitable, which was good for them, good for us. And we just learned over and over and over again that the model works. But if it's a 1970s building, it falls apart. Even if you fix it, then it falls apart again. And so we kept changing and adjusting our model. And with the run up of prices, we started looking at, well, how can we still acquire distressed complexes where the owners don't want a huge arm and a leg? Like who has the most slums? And then we started thinking, well, who's the biggest slum lord in America? And you may think, oh, it's BlackRock or Blackstone or whatever, some big corporate conglomerate. And that's not true. The biggest slumlord in America is America. The Public Housing Authority, HUD, owns over 897,000 homes, apartments, mobile home parks, 897,000 units. That's not Section 8. Section 8 is like 10 million. Wow. This is public housing. This is fully owned and operated by the U.S. government.
Yeah, so things like projects, right, from back
the
in
projects.
the 60s and 70s, yeah. And I mean, and other things, but right, but just to give people an idea of something I think most people are aware of at least is projects.
Yeah, if you ever drive by an old rundown apartment complex, it's painted tan, it's got broken windows and people are hanging out the windows and it's just like, I'm going to get shot. That's most likely operated by the U.S. government. Last year, 267,000 of those units did not even pass a basic HUD inspection. So HUD's own apartments didn't pass their own inspection, a third of them. And when we realized that last year, we were like, well, let's go start talking to public housing authorities and figure out how we can help. And so what we've done is we've taken our 3-part system, which includes redeveloping the buildings themselves, bringing in nonprofit support to help the residents. And then now we have a AI software called Percy, Personal Success Companion. It rolls out beginning of August. It's not publicly available yet. That helps people learn it gives them all the tools they need to become successful and make money. On-site services. Now, let's say you're a 29-year-old lady, you have 2 little kids at home, you just fled from abusive relationship, you're in public housing. There's not a chance you can go get a job, right? And if you didn't graduate from high school, the best you could do is $15 an hour, and nobody that makes $15 an hour is getting out of poverty.
Right.
And so we're like, well, go get a job. We'll go get a better job. Well, they don't have a GED and they got 2 little kids at home and it's never going to happen. No matter how much you yell at them, that's not going to happen. They got to take care of their kids. So they're stuck in that system. And some of them have been in that system for 4 to 5 generations of people living in public housing. And it's become like like family wealth. They pass down their unit to the next generation, because it's free room, free board, free medical care, free utilities, Wi-Fi, internet, and phone.
Well, and Sam, I just want to step in for just a second because it's so powerful to think about that for a second. So 4 or 5 generations, if that's all you've ever known, it's easy from the outside when you've grown up, let's say middle class, right? And you didn't have a ton of money, but really everything was pretty much okay. And you were never really wanting for things. I think it's, unless you really step back and spend the effort to try and understand, it's almost impossible to really grasp what that reality has got to be like. Because if that's all you've ever known, then how are you just supposed to know what you need to do and make the changes to get out of that, right? Without a lot of help, because it's not just, oh, you need some help to help you find a car to get to your job, or somebody to help take care of your young kids so you can go work your $15 an hour job. It's knowing even the most basic stuff. And it's not just financial things. It's also basic healthcare things or basic things about what to eat, right?
It's just basic literacy. Healthier.
Yeah,
a lot of them can't even read.
Yeah, right. So there are such huge disadvantages if that's all you've ever known. It's just worth stepping back and just, I think, taking a second to really think about how difficult that is for people in that situation.
So we were in a public housing project recently, a few months ago. We overheard this conversation, real life conversation. The girl is talking to her mom in the elevator, and she said, "Mom, I'm going to go be a nurse. I got into this nursing program." Mom says, "Why the heck did you go do that? That's stupid. You're going to lose our subsidy." And my partner, who's an African-American man, grew up, in Gary, Indiana, in the very, very difficult challenge, turned to her and said, "Why did you tell her that? She's trying to go make something of herself. You need to support her." And she said, "Well, we're going to lose our subsidy, our house, our everything." And she's got a point.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't know what it's like on the other side.
Right.
And they think like, I'm going to go make $15 an hour and I'm going to lose my house.
Right.
Right? Like that system is broken.
Right.
And yeah.
Well, because right, if you just think about that from a basic financial point of view, if you've got income and expenses, and if your income isn't going to cover the other housing you're going to have to go get, well, then that's like you're saying, that's a broken system. That's a bad deal. That doesn't make any sense, right?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like smart people can say, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to do it. But you can't go in the political realm. You can't go say, we're going to cut subsidies, because immediately the other side said they're cutting benefits for 17 million Americans, pushing them out into, homelessness, right? And so you can't touch that stuff without it being a political suicide note.
Yeah, right.
And so the answer is not necessarily to cut the system. The answer is to reduce the cost on the system. You need to get people out of poverty. And so that's our approach, is we build buildings that are no longer 1950s assets falling down, dripping water and sewage on people's heads and cockroaches and everything else. All right. We create space there that has, child care on site so that these single moms can go get, benefits, because a lot of them are single, because if the dad works, then the moms and everyone else loses their subsidy, and the dad can't make enough money to cover everybody else. So it's pushing them to not get married. Marriage is bad in that situation, right? Like our system is broken. And so you're specifically disrupting families, which is the unit that is the most successful in time, right? There's a billion points of data on that. Nobody can argue that, at least not intelligently. So it's like we break down the systems that work and we create a system that doesn't work. And then for us, we're trying to mend that system back together, a correct system, helping people get out of poverty, creating access so that they can go get the education, the job training, and everything else, and doing it in a very fast way. So 2 years, 3 years to go from $0 a month to making $5,000 a month. And now at $5,000 a month, they can go live, right?
Yeah, right.
They don't need to be in the system. And when they exit the system, you just reduce the cost. So most people cost $250,000 for every 10 years that they're in the system, between $250,000 to $380,000 every 10 years. So $38,000 a year. When they leave that system in 2 years, they save the government about $250,000 a year. I got my numbers mixed up there for a sec. So if we can get them out in 2 years, we just save $250,000 per person. Now do that by 1 million people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're talking trillions of dollars of savings to the
Trillions
system.
of dollars of savings, and also just the impact you've had on these people's lives. And also the other side of that impact is now they're doing more, being more contributory members of society and the economy as a whole, right? So it's every part of the system wins. That's really cool. So you start with the properties, right? So you went to Public Housing Authority, and so now do you go in and you tear down the old things and build new buildings? Is that what you're doing?
That's largely what we're doing. We also will redevelop, or we will renovate, rehabilitate these apartment complexes or mobile home parks. They do have apartment complexes, mobile home parks, which is crazy. Public housing authorities own mobile home parks. We will touch whatever those are. We'll clean them up. We will own and operate them. The government will do a land lease to us, so it still stays inside the government's purview. That way it can stay public housing, or at least a portion of it can stay public housing. And in the process, we double the number of units, which increases affordability when we tear it down and rebuild. So like in Las Vegas, we're tearing down 294 units, building up around 600 something units. And then that becomes a brand new mixed income facility with services on site, and becomes a launch pad instead of a hammock or a permanent resting place. It's a launch pad.
Well, and I want to, and you've touched on this some, and I want to make sure and really emphasize that. So you're doing the building, but then as part of that, you're also creating a community with all these services, right? So you have education pieces. I mean, you already mentioned there's a childcare piece, but it sounds like there are education pieces as well.
There's education pieces. Some of that we are still working on to determine how it's all going to look in the end. But right now, just building from our experiences of doing this and trying so many different things, the system that works is on-site services. It's the system that works.
Sure.
Now, not everybody is going to leave, right? Not everybody's going to leave. So when we do our models, we're looking at like a 20% efficacy rate. 20% efficacy rate still saves the government trillions of dollars a year.
Well, and still that's 20% of people that you're doing something really monumentally beneficial for, right?
For them, their kids, their generations.
Yeah, the whole generational thing. And I would think, and I certainly would hope that as you continue to do this over time, as more people are able to see how this is benefiting people and helping them sort of get out and not get out and then they really just sort of fail somewhere else, but they get out and they are able to succeed sort of beyond what those generations that have never known anything else, beyond whatever they've known before, then it's going to help you increase that efficacy rate. And also you guys will get better and you'll improve things. I mean, because I'm sure everything you're doing now isn't optimized, right? Because it just takes a while. So you'll continue to do that and hopefully you will increase that rate over time.
That's it. And we're really hoping that, as the AI tool gets out there and starts tracking all that data, we'll be able to start, because impact has always been hard. Measuring impact has always been hard. Now we're going to have a ton of data about it that we haven't had in the past. And so we're going to start looking at those levers that really, really work and the ones that don't, right? I know giving people free clothes does not help them, right? It just replaces something they already had and then something goes to the landfill. What helps them is, mindset changes, educating, coaching. They don't need a 4-year degree, but they need an education about something, job skills, right? They need to learn. Just like I did, just like you did, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how we all get there. Every one of us got there through knowledge and access to something.
Yeah. And then you're partnering with the Public Housing Authority, right? So it's not like you're just taking things over. You're still in partnership with them. So, I mean, it's really very cool what you're doing. And the part that we haven't really talked about much is, so this isn't a nonprofit the way that you're doing this. So you're funding all this from accredited investors, and accredited investors, like that's a specific term. And so someone's got to have, I don't remember the exact numbers. They've got to have an annual income in excess of $200,000 or $5 million net worth, not including
$1 million
residence.
Net worth. Yeah, $1 million
right?
net worth.
So people that are affluent, that have money, right? So
yeah, they have a little bit.
Those are your investors. And as part of all of this great things that you're doing, you're also providing a consistent return for those investors in order to keep funding the whole system. Is that right?
That's right. So let me talk about the money, because it's beautiful the way this works. Because we're partnering with public housing authorities, they're funding through bonds, grants, low-income housing tax credit. They're funding what we call the capital stack by 80% or 85%, which means that we're getting the absolute best debt that you cannot get on the private market. You can only get it in this way. So government-backed deal, right? It's not going to get foreclosed on. It's not going to, suffer with the market rate and everything else. You're not going to lose our tenants and, et cetera, because 50, 60% of the units are already contracted to the government. They're going to lease every single one of those units. We're going to get paid on the first every single month. It doesn't work exactly like that, but it's pretty close. It's the lowest risk thing in real estate there is. Because when the government gets involved, it always throws the economics off. And in this case, it's to our favor. As in private investors, They have to incentivize us to come in and do this deal. And so we do these deals and the returns are great. It's why we can offer higher returns to do a very purpose-driven investment than a typical investment would do. Think about it from this standpoint as a business owner. Let's say you're going to go build an apartment complex or you're going to launch a business. What if you knew that 60% of your revenues were guaranteed? You just have to build it. And we know exactly how to build it. 60% of your revenues are guaranteed. Your profit's guaranteed at the very beginning.
Yeah, right.
Like we work out the profit at the beginning of the contract.
Yeah, wow.
It's completely different than the other stuff where you're hoping at the end that the market rises and hopefully people will move in. And we did this really great market analysis and you're really feeling positive. Yeah. In this case, we feel great because we signed it into a contract.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. So a couple of things, right? So I want to go back to this idea of your teenage son. Right now he wants that money to buy a $250,000 car.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if he learns the right skills and habits and he gets to a point where, and he sort of works his way towards FI, at an early age, and he builds up a good stash of money, him or anybody else, right? And I mean, that's what the whole purpose of the show is. If you build that up enough, then you can qualify as an accredited investor, and you could invest in a system like yours, right? Impact Growth Capital, right? So then it lets you continue to grow that money while you're having this social impact. But you've got to get there first, right?
You got to get there first. And a lot of people are there, but they already make $200,000 a year. They may be worth over $1 million, not including their personal residence. A lot of people are there. They don't show it. They still drive their old Toyota. They've been wise with their money, but they're investing in the stock market. And when you invest in the stock market, you don't know where your money's going unless you're investing in a specific stock. So Apple, you're investing in the richest company on the planet, right? And you're thinking, that's great. But what if you could make better returns or equivalent returns helping people get out of poverty?
Yeah. It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. Well, and again, to me, it's motivation for people that are younger to, hey, I want to get to that point so I can do things. I mean, so that's the way you have your fun. And we don't need to get into sort of why you're only doing accredited investors. I know you had said in a conversation we had before, commercial real estate is a full contact sport. And so people who have less money, it just gets more complicated. And I get that. So, but right, for people who necessarily don't want to figure this out on their own, but want to have that impact from an investment point of view, this is motivation to get to a point where, hey, I could do something like this. But take a minute, and so someone, let's say, who isn't at that point, but maybe wanted to get involved in something that was going to have social impact, but on a smaller scale than what you've put together, how might they start to approach something like that?
For me, I got started flipping homes just like most people do. And in that way, you do have impact, right? You're taking on a very distressed house that you buy at a low cost. It helps somebody out. They get out of the house. They get some money in their pockets, hopefully. And you take that over and you create a clean, beautiful home. And you make money in the process. You sell it at below market. It moves fast. And that creates impact. You're beautifying neighborhoods as long as you're not doing a really, really terrible job and hiding things. Like you can be a good human and flip homes and make an impact. There's lots of different things you can, if you don't know what to do, get on ChatGPT or one of these programs and say, these are all the things I like to do. What can I do that would make a difference in the world, that would create value and help me make money? Because I want to become a millionaire. And it will give you a plan. When Percy comes out in August, you can ask me and I'll send you a link and you can sign up, and that thing will tell you exactly what you can do to make a difference in the world and make money. That's its whole objective, is to help you make money in a legal and ethical way. Yeah. And so there's lots of opportunities.
It's just, I'm really impressed by what you've put together, Sam, and what you're doing. And, it's not something that everybody would think to do. It's not, a lot of people can look and be like, oh, it's sad and unfortunate, the circumstances that some people live in. Most people aren't comfortable doing anything about it. So I think the world of what you're doing and just how you've fit all these different things together. So it's it works for everybody from multiple angles. It's really very impressive. So kudos to you, man.
Thank you. I've been thinking about this for a very, very long time. And we've been working on it for a long time, trying to get all the pieces right. And we have a long ways to go, a lot of things we want to accomplish, but the system we have works. We know it works. We've tried it, and we're excited about the future of what we can do. And, if anyone's listening to this and they're thinking, I want to become a part of that, then please reach out. I would love to have more like-minded people like us going out there and making a difference.
Yeah. So where can people find you? And I'll put that in the show notes.
Great. Yeah. You can check us out on our website, impactgrowthcap.com, which is short for capital, Impact Growth Capital. So impactgrowthcap.com. You can reach out to me, Sam, at impactgrowthcap.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Samuel Sells, disruptive capitalist. I believe we can be good human beings and capitalists at the same time. It's the system that works. It cuts through all the crud. I've worked with nonprofits. I worked at USAID. I've been all over the world and done a lot of different things. This system works the best, hands down, over and over again. And, I'd love to meet more people.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more you have in the fun, the more projects you can do, the more good you can do. So yeah. Then we're back to that whole, hey man, money's a tool. Go do good stuff with it.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So I'll put all that in the show notes, and those things are also always available on the FI for Kids website, so people can go find them there. So Sam, I thank you so much for coming on and for the work that you're doing.
Yeah, my pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the FI for Kids podcast. Please support the show by hitting subscribe and receive new episodes every Thursday. The intro and exit music this episode are courtesy of Douglas Cameron. As always, you can find links to the FI for Kids music in the show notes. Thanks again, and we'll talk next week.
You're like the horizon. I can't reach you, you're so far away. And if I run to the place I want you to stay, you'd be gone. I've been left wondering why you moved on, and why you never said goodbye. I can't wait any longer. I see the writing on the wall. It's time for us to say, tomorrow we are yesterday. Tomorrow we are yesterday. You're like the sunset. You're glowing bright, but you're fading. And what I don't get is why I'm left here waiting. But I'm like a phoenix. I will rise up from this fire. It's something we can't fix. I guess it's time for us to retire.